Hey there folks, Flint here, and it's time for another album review. And this time I'll be covering Cult of Fire, which is a Czech Republic based three-man black metal combo founded in 2010. And in 2012 they released their first full-length album called Triumvirat. And with this album they delivered their approach to epic black metal. And on the one hand, it consisted of typical elements of black metal, meaning we have blast beats, we have tremolo guitars for the rhythm section and the melody section. But on the other hand, they also managed to give it a certain variety, meaning we have keyboards in there and a certain variation in speed. So there are songs consisting of very fast paced, and there have songs which are very slow paced with the mentioned keyboards in there. And that made the album very interesting to listen to. And also, and this is a point the black metal purists might like, the production was raw. But with raw I don't mean like Darkthrone raw, where it's almost hard to identify the guitars, but raw enough to deliver a sound which may be described as unpolished, but in a good way. And what I also very much liked about this first album were the vocals, because they have a certain aggressiveness to them without being too high or too low, meaning we don't have Cradle of Filth high or death metal lows in there. And all this is surrounded by very good guitar work, where we find nice tremolo melodies over kind of indigenous rhythm guitar sections, and this especially unfolds when the keyboards kick in there and we have like a sound landscape in a black metalish way. And it seems like they have a lot of energy in themselves, since only 1 year later they release their current full-length album called Ascetic Meditation of Death. And in this album they picked up every good thing from the first album but managed to evolve the sound. And it's like a tree where you cut down some areas to let others grow faster and better, and basically that is what they have done with their music. So for example, on this album, the amount of keyboards is reduced dramatically, but they don't neglect them completely. But what they did is, they introduced Indian music instruments into their sound, and this is what makes this album very special. And when you close your eyes and listen to the beginning of the first song, you can also see yourself being in an ancient Indian temple surrounded by musicians playing these wonderful instruments. And then suddenly this tremolo guitar melody kicks in, and this is where the black metal side comes into play. And what follows here are blast beats, very fast blast beats, and they change between fast and mid-tempo here, and every now and then they put in these Indian instruments here. And towards the end of the song, the tempo slows down. We have dominating percussions here, but with this typical tremolo melody in there. And this is accompanied by a clean voice reciting some kind of mantra over this music. And this builds the bridge to the temple thing I said in the beginning here. And also, this gives the direction of the whole album here. But it's not only the obvious parts that amaze me about this album, but there are certain tiny things here. Like if you listen to an album for the 5th, 10th or 15th time, and you still find something new. And this is what happened to me with this album here. For example, even though you have these kind of loud drums, you have the tremolo guitars, they still manage to have details in there, meaning that the rhythm guitars play an arpeggio melody, but it is so much in the background that you almost don't notice it unless you pay very close attention to the music you're listening to. And it's the same thing with the use of the keyboards, even though they use it very much less than on the first album. But when it kicks in, it kind of completes the sound. It's just there. It adds a certain depth to the music. And this builds up this kind of very dense atmosphere this album has. what also contributes to this atmosphere is the fact that in parts this album becomes very meditative. The climax of this meditational side of the album is definitely the fourth song called Kali Ma. Right from the beginning it manages to enwrap you when they start using a distorted arpeggio guitar melody in the song. And I like how they manage to introduce a mystic vibe into this song by combining this guitar work with the well-known Indian instruments and vocals placed somewhere between humming and chanting. And in the second half of this song they also introduce a piano melody which just enriches the sound even more. And when the song comes to an end and you're almost in another sphere, they manage to drag you down again with the next song called When Death Is All. Since this song is a very fast, very aggressive song, it starts with a drum beat which varies between blast beats and very fast double bass. And the guitars are fast and aggressive and distorted, and the vocals are also distorted. And this is a complete opposite of the song before. But even though the prevailing mood of the song is fast and aggressive, they avoid a kind of monotony in there by breaking up the song structure in the middle of the song with a little cutback in tempo. So now I would like to come to the summary of this review. What do we have here? We have a band which manages to introduce something new into epic black metal, fused with classic elements like the fast drums, the tremolo guitars, the guttural vocals, clad in a production which is almost perfect for this kind of music. So on a scale from 0 to 10, I would say it's a solid 9. And I recommend you to give it a try, to listen to the album and support the artists by buying it. With this being said, I would like to thank you for your time, and as always, rock on. Flint out.